Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to all of my wonderful and beautiful little subscribers out there. And how I love you all, son. I hope that you're all super duper well, super duper wonderful, and super duper delicious. And that life is treating you most deliciously wherever you are. So, what do we do with our juicy little lads? 3, 2, 1, 1, 2, 3. Thank you, little lads. You're delicious and bright. Yes, they are, aren't they? We cannot say that at nearly 11 a.m. in the morning in our old England, my delicious little babies. It's very dull, and if it's raining, it's raining. So, yes, it is raining as well. Must keep a handle on it. Okay, my delicious little babies. Now then, so I heard that wherever you are in the world, that life is treating you most deliciously wherever you are. Okay, my little beautifuls. Now then, so what have I got for you today? Okay, that doesn't mean no. Okay, we'll go to the first one, my delicious little babies. Now then, this one here. Okay, this is on the shorty videos, my delicious little babies, on old YouTube. Now, I don't know whether this is solely on YouTube or whether maybe this little upload and with anybody not in that way, whether he happens to have a TikTok channel. I'm not sure. I'm pretty sure that they probably would have. Do you understand what I mean, my delicious little babies? And it's called at how they do it with these, instead of writing at, it's at capital C, Charlie, with an R-E on the end, underscore, that's what you call it, one of those underneath, and then capital D, Davis. Okay, my delicious little babies. So it should read, once tapped in, at Charlie underscore, one of those underneath, Davis, my delicious little babies. Okay. Now then, this is literally, I think about a minute long or something. It's really not a long video, my delicious little babies. And it should read, nuclear war prank on mum. Freak out in brackets. Okay, my delicious little babies. So I'm just going to repeat that again for you. Nuclear war prank on mum in brackets, freak out. Okay, my delicious little babies. There was a song, wasn't there? Freak out. You know that song. Okay, my delicious little babies. Now then, so what's happening is this woman's son. Okay, he decides to put a prank. So his mama bear, his mammy bear, is sat there on the sofa, and watching a bit of the old EastEnders, my delicious little babies, on BBC One. When all of a sudden this emergency broadcast comes on, my delicious little babies, okay, talking about nuclear war, then you can see on the screen everybody's running, my delicious little babies. Well, anyway, this poor woman now, the lads, the young man's poor mother now, mama bear, mammy bear. Well, she's in a bit of a panic, my delicious little babies, okay? You should see it on the birth race, my delicious little babies. I really just do not feel myself that was fake. I believe that it was very real. Okay, my delicious little babies. Of course, then they explained to the mammy bear that that what she just saw was a fake video. Okay, my delicious little babies, it was all fake. Okay. Anyway, she went to say something and then it just cut off. So it was just like, probably, like I just said, about a minute long. But what's the point to why I have mentioned this today, my delicious little babies? Well, I'll explain the reason why, because this goes to show, doesn't it, that what ones see and what ones hear. Now, for myself personally, I did not find it very amusing. Some would say, oh, you know, old-fashioned saying, maybe you're a stick in the mud. No. Because if they knew that they could wound the mammy bear up, okay, that's not very nice at all. Do you know what I mean? So, I mean, others would probably find it, you know, amusing, but for myself, I did not, because I'm seeing the more, there we are, serious side of it, okay? So imagine, just, you know, imagine all the people, okay? So just imagine if something like that came up on the, there we are, you know, came up on the screen. Imagine how many would be, there we are, beside themselves, panic stations. Do you see what I mean? We only have to go back to the COVID-19 days, my delicious little babies, okay, to see what, there we are, happened there. So there's always a point to what I write down, and for the videos that I give out, my delicious little babies, there's always a point, there we are, to what I do, okay? So it's not for the fact that, you know, I do not like to have a jerk, a laugh and a joke. I mean, I'm one of the first, there we are, to have a laugh and a jerk, but not with things like this, no. But of course, everybody else would have their own views, you know what I mean? But if we look at the serious side, that could very well happen. And millions, there we are, would absolutely believe this. Do you see what I mean, my delicious babies? It's, you know, 1, 2, 3, easy as 1, 2, 3, and ABC, like that. You see what I mean, my delicious little babies? Anyway, I just thought I'd mention it. Now then, my delicious little babies, the next video is, this is on YouTube as well, my delicious little babies. They're all on YouTube. And this uploader happens to have 933,000 subscribers, my delicious little babies. And this one's called, I mean, for some of you, you may know this uploader. For others of you, you may not know this uploader, just like the video that I've just mentioned, the shorty. For some of yourselves, you may very well have seen this shorty video, but for myself, it was the first time of me seeing it, my delicious little babies. Okay, so, and I do not know how long ago it was done. I do not know that either, my delicious little babies. Okay, but this uploader here, going back to this video now, yeah, the video's is it 3.36 minutes long, my delicious little babies. It's not long. And the uploader, capital N, Nick, and then space, capital N again, Nimin. I'll just spell that for you, my delicious little babies. N-A-M-M-I-N for November. So it's Nick space Nimin. Okay, my delicious little babies. The video should read what you should know about YouTube's monetization update. Okay, my delicious little babies. I'm just ticking these off as I go along. Now then, so what's happening is there appears to be, well, for those who are in the know, you will know, but for others, you may not know, okay? But there seems to be a fair amount of videos that are up on our YouTube at the moment, my delicious little babies, all to do with this. There's been a change in what YouTube is saying about what they're expecting, my delicious little babies. Okay, now some are saying, well, basically just do not panic about this, okay? But I have watched other videos where one's and this is why I'm not going to mention them, my delicious little babies, because they seem to be, they are highly exaggerating. So I've watched this one here, and I watched another one where they're talking, there we are, sensibly about this. But then I've seen other videos, okay, I think I've seen about 4 or 5, okay, where they seem to be exaggerating everything. So maybe they're not getting the information across maybe in the right way, shall we say, my delicious little babies, okay? But your man here now is just explaining that, you know, how this is rocking and rolling. Now, finally, the video. So, if anybody happens to have any form of an interest, my delicious little babies. Now, finally, and then I'll just have a quick little natter, and then I'll be over and out. Okay, my delicious little babies. So, this uploader here. Now, for some in the geopolitical world, you may very well know who this is, my delicious little babies. Okay, but for myself, I actually seen your man here when I was listening to do something else, which I'll tell you in a moment, my delicious little babies. So this is not somebody who came up on my feed. Okay, I actually tapped in something else because I was listening to something else yesterday evening. Okay, my delicious little babies, and then his video happened to then pop up. Okay, my delicious little babies. But this man here, first of all, let me tell you. So he happens to have 389,000 subscribers, my delicious little babies. Again, on YouTube, like I said, they're all on YouTube, my little beautifuls. And capital R in the old space bar in old YouTube, my delicious little babies. Inside space, capital R, Russia. Okay, my delicious little babies. So it should read once tapped in. Should anybody have any form of an interest, my delicious little babies? Inside space, Russia. Okay, my delicious little babies. Now, the very first video that I seen, when I was looking at something else, listening to something else, he's been demonetized now twice from Google. It appears, my delicious little babies, this is his second time around. It's his second time around, my delicious little babies. Okay, now I'll just tell you what this video's the title is. Okay, and it's 56 minutes and something long, my delicious little babies. Sorry, excuse me. And it should read, Russia's weekly economic update. Okay, all industries are dying. Okay, my delicious little babies. So I'm just going to repeat that again for you. Russia's weekly economic update. All industries are dying. Okay, my delicious little babies. Okay, but of course, some industries. So I'm not saying this to be sarcastic, my delicious little babies, because I would never ever do something like that ever. But where it says some industries are dying, somewhere in the video I heard him say that that the funeral industry seems to be making a very high profit, my delicious little babies, apparently. Okay, so I'm not saying that to be disrespectful or to offend anybody. Okay, I would never do that, like I said. But so not all industries are going down the pan, are they, my delicious little babies? Okay, and what he's talking about. Okay, now the reason why I'm mentioning this video as well, my delicious little babies, because this is the first time I've seen your man there. What's his name? Constantine or something. Okay, the reason why I'm mentioning it, because I was looking at the comments and I looked at more there we are than usual, my delicious little babies. Usually I don't know, the most I'd ever look at is probably about 5 comments, you know what I mean, on different videos. Okay, I never really look at a lot. There's very few that I really look at, and of course these days now I've cut everything down. It's very rare that you see me send comments now. I've got to the stage, my delicious little babies, simple things I cannot be bothered. So I stick to who I send comments to, because there we are, because I choose to do that. Okay. For others, if I've ever sent comments, I feel that there we are, my job is done. So therefore, I do not need to mention the uploaders again, my delicious little babies. I just feel, there we are, that along the journey, everybody helps, don't they? You know, as old Tesco would say, Ding, ding. Every little helps, my delicious little babies, okay? So I play my part. I do it as a hobby. Nobody asked me to do it. I wouldn't have it, there we are, any other way, okay, my delicious little babies, because it's what, there we are, I enjoy doing, okay? And if I feel that I can give some sort of, there we are, input to help others, I always will. But for um, most now who I've already advertised, there's going to be a lot who I will never be advertising again, because, like I just said, there we are, and I will not be commenting again, because I have done, there we are, I have done my job. I feel that I've helped others along the way, but I've done it, there we are, my choice to do that. Nobody asked me to do anything, and I was very, there we are, happy to do it at the time. Okay, my delicious little babies. So, it's just, you have to move on. And then if I can find new uploaders, not to advertise them regularly, but maybe somebody else has not heard of them, for myself, maybe I would not have heard of them either. Do you know what I mean? But it's just a case of, sort of, what do you call it? It's only a figure of speech. Like balancing the books. There we are. Do you know what I mean? In other words, what I'm saying is to give others a chance as well. There we are. Do you know what I mean? Okay. And that can mean, lots of smaller, little channels as well. There we are, my delicious little babies. You know what I mean? That just need that little, there we are, that little boost. Do you know what I'm saying? Yes, I'm really pleased about the what's his name, who I advertise. I'm really pleased about his one, Wayne Layton, who I advertised my delicious little babies, because when he first started, I have to go back in this book, but I think he had 1,000 and something subscribers, my delicious little babies. It wasn't a lot at the time. That was to do with the council tax on YouTube, my delicious little babies, in our old England. He's now up to, what is he up to now? Nearly 14,000. There we are, my delicious little babies, you know what I mean? So it does go to show that there's always somebody listening. I always say that. There's always somebody listening and somebody seeing. Do you see what I mean? Okay, so if we can get the information out where we need to, and it could be all different subjects, all different, there we are, topics, all different, there we are, areas. See, my back just keeps going. I'm really hot at the moment, my delicious little babies, feeling hot, hot, hot. Do, 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 do. But I tell you, I was going all cold across my shoulders. So I know it sounds like what I've just said is going all the way around the flipping houses, but the point is that I've done my job in other areas, whether it be geopolitical, whether it be to do with the farming, whether it be to do with advertising all different channels. And I feel now that I've done my job there. So for myself, I'm wanting to continue to build my other favourite, who I do comment to. Do you understand what I mean? My delicious babies. But like I said, there's very few channels that I ever comment on. There's very few actually that I am subscribed to, because the reason why as well, my delicious babies, I've seen how this, there we are, rocks and rolls, there we are, long time. I've seen how they play the game. Do you see what I'm saying? Yes, okay. And for myself, no. That's why, I'm happy with the subscribers I've got. I mean, for the majority, they probably do not even listen to my videos, because a lot of my subscribers is to do with my readings. That's how many numbers there we are, got built in the first place, my delicious babies. So, if there's anybody who does happen to hear me and you are subscribed, and because I haven't been doing readings for a while, so, for ones, thank you for your time here. But if you'd like to unsubscribe, there we are. That would be hunky dory tickety boo. And I mean that most respectfully. Should anybody happen to listen to my video, if they happen to be subscribed to myself, you know what I mean? Because it's not about that. But you can see over the years how, like YouTube and everything, there we are, how they played the game here. Do you see what I mean? Okay, so if you listen to the average channel, please subscribe. Please, do you understand what I'm saying? Yes, okay. I always feel myself personally, this is just my thoughts, but looking at it logically from a ding ding dong dong common sense point of view, I do not feel that anybody should have to, that we are to beg anybody else to subscribe. If somebody listens to the content, listens to the good material, there we are, that is given out, I would have thought that it would have been ding ding dong dong, common sense, to say to themselves, okay, I've heard a number of videos here, and yes, I happen to find the channel most interesting with whatever they're listening to. Do you see what I mean? Okay. So they form their own, there we are, opinion, they form their own view in their noddle. Do you know what I mean? So then they make a decision. Am I going to subscribe or am I not going to subscribe? But it just goes to show how much like, there we are, Peter the Parrot, and that's not being nasty. And as I have seen more, there we are, and more and more and more, it's quite obvious to myself, okay, and I'm pretty sure that to some other uploaders who are, there we are, honest like myself to speak this way, that others just seem to follow the leaders. Do you see what I mean? But at the same time, ones are, chasing, sorry, the ka-ching, ching, ching. And I get it if they want to earn change. But what they must also understand, there we are, for I even say it again, it's all cold across here and yet my room and I'm boiling hot, okay? What they must also understand is that somebody, there we are, could make you, there we are, and they can break you. That's the point that I'm saying. So, and I've been listening to a lot of different videos, my delicious little babies, okay, where some of, they can be up here, and then there we are, they can have that downfall. And it's not such a nice place to be then, my delicious little babies. Do you see what I mean? So I just feel that one should, if they choose to subscribe to somebody, they find the channel interesting to listen to, they feel that they're not being bullshitted. That is another important thing as well. That is super duper important, because there's so much bullshit, but it's all to do with my delicious little babies, okay? How much ka-ching, 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 and sponsors, and there we are, and everything like this now then, and what ones are getting paid. And I've been clocking, till I call clock no more. Do you understand what I mean, my delicious little babies, okay? So that is, in my view, there we are, very disappointing to see. But you can also see how much some, they work super duper hard on their videos, okay, and then they get most disappointed. I was listening to some as well yesterday evening as well, and they get so disappointed because they've worked super duper hard on this particular video that they made, only to find that there wasn't getting the clicks, there wasn't getting as many likes as what they thought that they would get. Okay, my delicious little babies, okay, so you've got to look at all different angles here, but who's controlling the keypad? There we are. Who's controlling it? How can a channel, and I was watching one, but I'm not going to mention them, I do not need to. And anyway, it's not my field, okay, so I do not mean that nastily or disrespectfully, okay? I'm just pointing things out now then, there we are, that need to be pointed out. You see, this particular channel that I looked at, okay, I never looked the whole video, it was to do with something else. I'll explain it very shortly, my delicious little babies, but the point is that, so what was it, your man there, your uploader, he'd done, only pretty young, I'd probably say, I don't know, in his middle to late 20s, my delicious little baby. He's not somebody who's, anyway, that's young anyway, 50, 60, 70, 80 is young, you know what I mean? You're as old as you want to be, you're as young as you feel, do you understand what I mean, my delicious little babies? Forget the bullshit that they all tell you, okay? But the point is this, he had a certain number of videos which were fetching loads of views, I mean millions of views, okay, my delicious little babies. And then the one that he thought was, maybe he'd worked on a little bit more than the others, that he felt was like better in a way. So it's really hard for me to explain, but I know what I mean. Put the most effort into, that got the less. Do you see what I'm saying, Mads? Baby? See, you have to see that we are hardest rocks and rolls. So I just believe that what's going on with this YouTube business, okay, is that let's just draw a line down the centre. Is that what they're doing? Is it's like they're giving a little, there we are, shake up, okay? So maybe in a polite way, how ones want to take it, everybody would understand it, there we are, in a different way, okay? But maybe what they're trying to do, because ones are going to otherwise, lose interest in YouTube to a degree. So I do agree with what was said as well, okay? But let's look at this on a very, very, very serious note here. What's it going to push ones to do? Like for hours upon hours upon hours a day, and these, medium-sized subscribers and, channels and things like this now, then it means they're going to be, and I've heard plenty of these videos where they said they work for hours and hours and hours and doing the editing and doing this, there we are, then doing that now then. Okay. So correct me if I'm wrong, but is it not still being, there we are, slave and driven? There we are. That's all I'm saying, my delicious little babies. Okay, so there's the way I see it is, and the way it's been put out and everything, there we are. There's a method here. Do you know, there we are. Okay, my delicious little babies, okay, but it's just the way that ones are taking it. So some are, and panicking other YouTubers, because that's what they're doing. They're coming on their channel, there we are, and they're panicking other YouTubers, other channels that maybe do not get it all or do not understand it all. It doesn't bother myself because I just stay the way I am. I'd rather have my subscribers, there we are, I'd rather have them, there we are, reduced than increased. And I've been there we are a long time saying this, my delicious little babies, you know what I mean? Because as far as I'm concerned, there's always somebody who sees, there we are, and there's always somebody who hears now, isn't it? So I do not need to have thousands upon thousands of subscribers. Do you see what I mean? I do not need to do that. Do you say? Not at all. But for others, bless them, they really want to make it, there we are, the daily bread, the bread and butter. Do you know what I mean? Mad little babies, okay? But it just appears to myself that ones, shall we say, behind the keyboards are wanting, there we are, far more, okay? Which consequently, there we are, is going to put pressure on existing channels for some, plus new channels coming in. Okay, my delicious baby. So I'm just explaining the way that we are that I see it. Okay, my delicious little babies can. Now then, so yeah, so that's just in, just over 3.5 minutes. Okay, my delicious babies. Now, with this, going back to this Russia, yeah. So he's talking about as well that he got offered this inside Russia. So now we need to close our book. Everything's ticked off. We're joining the dots, and we must go back to where we need to go back to, my delicious little babies. Now then, the thing is this, my delicious little babies, can. He also said that he got offered, is it in Russia, to purchase, was it, I can't remember if it was an apartment or because they're doing construction or something. Anyway, we see a lot of that in China. Okay, my delicious little babies, can. Mind you, it's going on in other places around the world as well, my delicious little babies, you know what I mean? This old construction business. Okay, my delicious little babies, there we are, we all know what this is about. But he got offered, this Constantine, he was saying, 55% or something. And he said never before has he ever been offered the 55%. You need to listen to it, my delicious little babies, but the video is, like I said, just over 56 minutes long. But yeah, I mean, he's upset because he does not understand why twice Google have uh, demonetised him, marginalistic babies. What I would have said myself, that ones only get demonetised, marginalistic babies, when let's just say you're not saying what ones are wanting you to say. That's what I would have said. Wouldn't you, my delicious little babies? That's what I would have said. So again, go back to what I've just said earlier. They can make you, they can break you. So, you can feel that, yeah, you're making a ching, 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 do you know what I mean? But then if you're not doing what they're wanting you to do and they're not liking it, then there we are, pull the plug. Do you see what I mean? Okay? And we've seen it across the board. And finally, what I just want to say, well, I hope that he does get his ka-ching, ching, ching, his money's back. Okay, my delicious little babies, okay? But he's had so many positive comments, honestly. Really positive, there we are, comments that he was receiving. But like I said, I've never seen him before. But for some of you in a geopolitical or, another area, you would have seen him before, I'm sure. But for myself, I never. But like I said, he never came up on my feed. I was listening to, and I'll tell you what I was listening to, then I'm going to be, like I said, over and out. So I typed in, like YouTubers who have passed away, my delicious little babies, okay? And I mean, it's amazing, when you see, and I mean, you go back even years ago, okay, to do a YouTube, and you see that some were having like something like 14 million views, and honestly, it was colossal. There we are at one point. I haven't quite seen anything like that in these years, my delicious little babies, you know what I mean? But it's amazing what ones will do for their YouTube channel. There we are, for the YouTube channels, my delicious little babies. One, okay, he was flying, so he had a license and he was flying. What was he? He'd won a medal or something, like one of these medals. And not in the army or anything. This is, I don't know, is it to do with the Olympic? Anyway, to do something. And then he was in his little plane. And I clocked it straight away. I thought, hold on a minute. But he was on his own. And then he said, he was filming it all. And then he said he was losing power with the plane. It's like this where you can only fit one in a plane, one of those, mad delicious bows. But what was odd about it, there we are, and I clocked it straight away. He had, what did they call them, like a parachute? And I thought, but why would you have a parachute? If you look at somebody who's flying a plane, like even if you look at, what do they call them, these, these captains and everything, we don't see them with a parachute strapped to the back, do you, my delicious little babies? Anyway, so that was, there we are, the red flag straight away, my delicious little babies, okay? But so what happened was, anyway, so he was all right. The plane crashed somewhere in the mountains. And, well, anyway, but then it turned out, my delicious babes, this is just one example of something, okay? Then it turned out that he lied. So he done that just for the clicks, just for everything for his YouTube channel. Then he went back to try and had some evidence and everything, to do with the plane. Anyway, my delicious babies. But there was some, so that was him. I mean, well, what a price to pay, because it never quite went his way. My delicious babies came in the end. There was others that got permanently deleted for something that they'd said, on their channel. And these are ones who'd never had a strike. Well, I've had one, my delicious little babies. I was banged off, was it last year, for a week? And I've had videos that we are removed, my delicious little babies, you know what I mean? So it didn't take myself long to get banged off, do you know what I mean, my delicious little babies, guy? Mind you, I don't follow the bullshit, do you know what I mean, my delicious little babies? But anyway, and it's good to talk in the camera, you know what I mean? Because like I said, there's always somebody who can hear and somebody who can see. So my message, there we are, will always get out anyway. So that's there we are. Fan Dabby Dursey for myself. Mads Lish Babies, you know what I mean? News, there we are, travels fast when it needs to. Anyway, but then there's others where they've never had a strike, they've never got any bad comments, no, nothing. But you just said, there we are, 1 foot wrong and you're permanently deleted. There was another one who was copying somebody else, copied all of his content, every single thing now. He was getting millions of views. Okay, Mads Baby, what country was that in now? Was it? It might have been Indonesia or somewhere like that, Mads Baby's Kai. And this one, through copying somebody else, took all of his content and everything. He was sticking, right, making ka-ching, ching, ching, we're in the money. Oh, yeah, big time, Mads until he got caught out. Okay? But again, you have to feel sorry for the original uploader who worked hard to do all of that. Okay? Then somebody else just comes along and copies. We seem to have a lot of it in the world, don't we, my delicious little babies, you know what I mean? Always somebody else's work now, then do you follow me? Anyway, so until my next video, my delicious little babies, okay? Sending peace, love, harmony, and bright blessings to each and every one of you. And may your beautiful little selves and your beautiful little families, may you all be fully protected, okay? How I love you so. Please take care of yourselves now and please try to take care of others. I know it sounds like I've gone on a bit, my delicious babies, there we are, but I'm just explaining something. I mean, and one last one, there was one YouTuber, we're going back years ago, she had a stalker. She had like millions of views and everything like this now then. And she had a stalker and she had to, anyway, she just vanished. So there's some YouTube channels, and that's going back from years ago, my delicious babies. I've listened to a number of them. And where they just disappeared, sorry, off the face of the planet. I never listened to all the videos. I was listening to something else that was discussing, okay, my delicious babies, and they've just abandoned their channels, never gone back again. And then very sadly, there's others who, let's just say, have gone to different countries and let's just say they've ended up in a very awful and very sticky situation. And let's just say that was the last ever video that they'd made, My Delicious Little Babies Kai. But so you've got channels like that as well, My Delicious Little Babies Kai. I remember saying so many months back, didn't I, My Delicious Little Babies? You know, like some channels that I advertised, okay, it's like they never posted anything for so many years. I remember saying it a while back. Okay, my delicious little babies, I just thought it was, there we are, odd. I just thought it was odd how they just, you know, just never posted anything else. Do you know what I mean? But some of these are ones with millions. But for that woman there, she was only quite young, I'd say in her 20s. This stalker was extremely nasty and threatened her, you know, let's just say, bless her dear little soul, that she wouldn't be here anymore, my delicious baby. So what she did, she just completely disappeared. So you'd still be able to find her videos, but she was nowhere. So she wasn't on YouTube, she wasn't on any other platform, nowhere at all to be found, even to this day. My delicious little babies, you know what I mean? But when you see how many, and, you know, but the things that they've done, but when you actually look, they're just not happy at all, my delicious little babies. And when you see, you know, they've got all those millions of views, they've got all those millions of subscribers, but when you see them where they were sort of starting out to where they were ending up, you know, you can just see the misery. There we are. You can just see the misery. Well, I mean, come on. If you're doing little videos, it's not meant to be miserable, is it? I mean, I know we all have our days, but you know what I mean? But you're not meant to feel that misery if you've had all that going for yourself, you know, if that's the way you want to live and that's the ka-ching you want to earn, you know, you shouldn't have to feel that miserable. But that's what I say to you. And that is where we come back to it again. There we are, the material. Do you see? It's like the chase is, oh, let's do a channel, let's, so we can, and do all these daredevil things, you know what I mean? And the more that you do it, well, I mean, some of, bless their dear little souls, falling off flipping cliffs and all sorts, haven't they? You know what I mean? Because they've been too busy, lost their footing, and look what's happened. What, for a YouTube video? Can you see what I'm saying, my delicious little babies? Can you see where this has gone long time? So this is something that was going on long time, wasn't it? Yes. Okay. And then of course, then they brought in a new lot, and this is what I'm saying. There we are. I know what I'm talking about, my delicious little babies. Okay, you can see it. There we are. Long time. Okay, my delicious little babies, and these are not videos. I've seen more yesterday evening, but this is not the first time. It's not the last time. You know what I mean? I've seen loads of different videos. You know what I mean? Just sad, but yeah, that one there, she just abandoned everything. Never heard from her again. My delicious little babies, do you know what I mean? And sometimes that can happen. She's not the first one, actually. I've seen another one. She, very sadly, one of her fans, very sadly, killed her. Okay, my delicious little babies. So, I really just do not see that is a price. Sorry, excuse me. To pay for YouTube videos. Anyway, my delicious little babies. So, please look after yourselves. How I love you so. Thank you so very much for any views, for any likes, for the occasional comments. So until my next video, how I love you so. Take care. Goodbye.